At Rosebridge General Hospital, the night security guard barely spoke. Sat near the ER doors with a flask of coffee, always watching. Nurses said he was harmless. Until one night, a violent patient tried to storm the pediatric wing, and the guard brought him down with a precision move no one recognized. Later, a surgeon asked, "Where'd you learn that?" The guard just replied, "Fallujah, 2005, different kind of hallway." Before we begin, tell us where you're watching from. And don't forget to like the video. Rosebridge General ran on chaos. ER doors never stopped swinging. Alarms beeped at random. Nurses floated between wings like ghosts in sneakers. But near the back of the main corridor, just beyond the vending machines, sat a man who rarely moved. Night security. Everyone called him Ray, though no one could recall if that was his first or last name. His badge said R. Ashwood, but the print had long since faded. He didn't make rounds. Didn't talk much. He just sat. Same chair. Same thermos. Watching the split-screen monitor showing the ER entrance, pediatric hallway, and ICU elevator. Dr. Vargas once joked, if a nuke hit us, Ray would sip his coffee and check the camera angle. People laughed, but nurses started noticing things. He'd buzz them through heavy doors before they reached for their badge. He'd tap once on the glass when someone entered with a concealed blade, even before security protocols flagged it. One nurse, Anna, told a story. He stopped me once on my way out. Said not to take 4th Street. I listened. Found out the next morning there was a crash. At the exact intersection I always passed. People started calling it Ray Sense. But mostly, he stayed invisible. Until the night, everything changed. It started small. A man entered the ER, limping, sweating, eyes wild. Said he had chest pains. The triage nurse logged him in. But Ray was already watching. The man's boots were too clean. His jacket too big. Hands shaking, not from pain, but nerves. Ray stood, quietly, started moving before anyone else. At 10:13 p.m., the man lunged past the reception, sprinting toward the pediatric wing. Carried nothing, but shouted something about finishing what they started. Nurses screamed. Security froze. Ray didn't. He moved like a machine. Intercepted the man mid-run. Redirected his momentum into the wall with a move no hospital staff had ever seen. Fluid. Bone level. The man hit the tile. Hard. Disarmed. When emergency responders arrived, Ray had already zip-tied him with his own hoodie. Came in twitching, he told the paramedics. Eyes wrong. Didn't scan for exits. That's textbook instability. Everyone stared. Later, Dr. Vargas asked, "Where'd you learn that move?" Ray didn't blink. Fallujah, 2005, different kind of hallway. He walked back to his chair, sat down, watched the screen. If someone ever saved a life and never asked to be thanked, just went back to watching the doors, drop a saw him once in the comments. Not all heroes leave when the sirens stop. The hospital staff tried to move on, but they couldn't stop talking about it. The takedown had been too precise, too fast, too controlled. Security reviewed the footage 5 times. Ray's timing was perfect, down to the footstep. Nurse Anna approached him the next night. "You saved 3 kids," she said. Ray didn't look up from the monitors. Just redirected chaos. "You're not a regular security guy, are you?" He gave her the smallest smile. "I used to be something else. Now I'm here." Later, Dr. Vargas checked Ray's personnel file. It was almost empty. Hired through a third-party firm. Background check, passed. No previous employers listed. References, confidential. "Who's this guy?" Vargas asked Anna. She shrugged. "Someone who listens more than he talks." But whispers grew. Orderlies noticed he always stood with his back to a wall. That he scanned hallways like patterns meant something. That he never took breaks near windows. One night, a young intern named Theo stopped by the desk. "You were military, right?" Ray sipped his coffee. "I've been near things that blow up." "That counts." Theo chuckled nervously. "Why hospital security?" Ray nodded toward the PED's hallway. "Because if something does go wrong again, I'll already be here." That answer silenced Theo, and made others think. The next week, a delivery truck showed up with a missing manifest. Ray flagged it before the front desk signed anything. Turned out to be a misrouted chemical shipment, one that shouldn't have been near oxygen tanks. Again, no thanks asked. Just a quiet handled. The head of hospital security offered him a supervisor role. Ray declined. "I like my chair." That weekend, someone taped a sticky note to his monitor. "Who were you before all this?" Ray left a reply the next day. Someone who learned to see before others reacted. Sometimes, the best leaders don't wear stripes. They walk corridors at night, so no one else has to. If you've ever worked with someone who made you feel safe just by being there, type always watching in the comments. Hospital nights returned to routine. Ray sat behind the monitors, never missing a shift, never yawning, always alert. But staff now watched him almost as much as he watched the doors. He still didn't volunteer stories, but his instincts told their own tale. Like when he spotted a visitor hovering near the pharmacy wing. Nothing suspicious, except for the way he kept glancing at the security camera dome. Ray intercepted him without raising his voice. "You looking for the vending machines?" The man nodded too fast. "Yeah, the drinks." Ray gestured. "Second floor. You'll want to try the ones that don't lock." By the time the man reached the stairs, 2 off-duty nurses confirmed he'd been spotted in a drug theft report last year. No confrontation, just awareness. People started noticing little things. He always walked the long way around ICU, even when alone. He carried an old-school flashlight, not the issued LED wand. He never leaned back in his chair. Dr. Vargas caught him glancing at the trauma bay clock one night. "Trouble sleeping?" Ray said. "I don't sleep in buildings with glass roofs." The doctor raised a brow. "Personal superstition?" Ray stared at the reflection in the window behind him. "Once saw a roof like that disappear midnight. Sandstorm. Firestorm. Pick one." Then added, almost to himself, "Don't take ceilings for granted." That line became a quiet joke among the staff. Ray doesn't trust ceilings. But the respect was real now. Even the head surgeon began leaving coffee at his desk. And on a Wednesday night, Caleb, a teenage volunteer from the tech ward, sat beside him and asked softly, "Is it true you fought in a war?" Ray didn't answer, but he placed a folded patch on the desk. "EOD, Explosive Ordnance Disposal." Caleb read it, eyes wide. "That's the guys who walk up to bombs, right?" Ray nodded once. "Then walk away if they're lucky." "Were you lucky?" Ray sipped his coffee. "I walked away. Not all wounds leave scars. Some teach you to see things faster than others ever will. If someone you know made you safer by noticing what no one else did, type he saw first in the comments." By mid-month, a rumor circled the hospital. Someone had seen Ray's locker open. It wasn't in the staff area, but in the old East Wing, where storage met the back generators. The locker was tucked in the far corner, paint chipped, a single word stenciled on the door, SHWOD. Inside, just 3 items. A folded uniform shirt, desert camo. A thin black notebook. And a weathered photograph. For men in dusty gear, squinting against sun, one of them unmistakably younger, standing slightly apart, hand resting on a metal case labeled EOD, is E7. Anna, the nurse, found it first while restocking emergency supplies. She didn't take anything, just looked, and told no one, except Vargas. Later that night, Vargas sat beside Ray during a quiet hour. "You don't have to keep pretending." Ray didn't look up from the monitors. "I'm not pretending. I just changed assignments." "EOD." Ray nodded. 6 tours. Afghanistan. Iraq. Briefly Syria. Then they asked me to train the next ones. I said no. "Why?" Ray's voice lowered. "Because the ones I trained still burned." The next day, Anna brought him a new thermos. Black, unbranded. "It keeps the heat longer," she said. "Figured you'd want that." He nodded once. "No thank you." But he used it. That weekend, the ER saw another influx. This time, a multi-vehicle accident, teenagers, high adrenaline, and low patience. One of the boys, spooked by pain, bleeding, shouting, lunged toward a nurse with scissors in hand. Ray was already moving before the boy stood. No force, just presence. He stepped in front of Anna, hand up, calm voice. "That's fear, not anger. Look at me." The boy froze. Ray took the scissors, sat him down, held his pulse until it slowed. After, the boy whispered, "How do you know I wasn't going to do it?" Ray replied, "Because the real threat doesn't hesitate. You blink." And just like that, the kid cried. If someone once taught you the difference between real danger and panic, between a threat and a cry for help, type he knew the difference in the comments. It's a rare kind of wisdom, earned the hardest way. After the ER incident, Ray didn't change. Still watched the monitors. Still walked the halls in silence. But the hospital changed around him. People began stopping to ask how his night was going. Someone left a folded note on his desk. "You didn't just save that kid. You saved me too." No name. Just gratitude. Then came the delivery. No return address. A flat package wrapped in brown paper, addressed only to R. Ashwood, Night Watch. Inside, a framed patch. EOD, Task Force Ranger. And a typed line. You taught us to run toward the worst of it. Still doing it, huh? Ray didn't flinch when he opened it. Just stood for a moment, looking at the patch. Then hung it behind his desk, where the monitors couldn't cover it. That night, Caleb sat beside him again. You were a teacher? Ray nodded. For people who didn't always get second chances. Caleb swallowed. Was it scary? Ray answered after a pause. The first time, yes. After that, it became something else. What? Necessary. A few days later, the fire marshal visited for a random inspection. As he walked through the lower corridor, he noticed Ray had rerouted one of the oxygen line shields. That wasn't protocol, the marshal said. Ray replied, protocol didn't see the cracked coupler last week. Pressure spike would have ignited it. The marshal blinked, then said quietly, where'd you train? Ray just gestured at the floor. Everywhere I've stood since I learned how fast things fall apart. That answer traveled. People from different shifts began sitting beside Ray's station for 5-10 minutes. Just to talk. Not about war. About pressure. Family. Failing equipment. He listened. Sometimes offered nothing. Other times, advice too sharp to be casual. One night, the nurse manager said, I think people feel safer just knowing you're here. Ray looked up from the camera feed. I think people forget how safe they already are. I just remind them. If you've ever known someone who gave people peace without ever saying the word, say you steadied us in the comments. Some people don't protect with orders. They do it with presence. One Thursday night, the hospital lights flickered. Then went black. Backups kicked in slow, uneven. Emergency lighting hummed. Monitors rebooted on battery life. Ray was already moving. He didn't wait for a call from the main desk. Didn't ask what happened. He grabbed his flashlight and manual radio from under the counter, older than half the staff, and started walking. He checked the ICU oxygen stabilizers. Switched the bypass on the pediatric ventilator loop. Reset the ER hallway breaker, not with a key, but a handmade tool clipped to his belt. Meanwhile, Central Security scrambled. Power company delays. Grid failure at the substation. Estimates, 2 hours, maybe more. But Ray had already rerouted a generator's output to 3 key systems. By the time the technicians arrived, the hospital was stable. And the map of the rerouted lines? Already drawn. Taped to the generator door. Signed, Ashwood, R. No title. No rank. Just the quiet handwriting they all recognized now. Anna, the nurse, found him in the staff lounge later, sipping lukewarm coffee. You knew this would happen. Ray looked up. It always happens. Eventually. She sat beside him. Did you ever have a break? After you came home? Ray paused. Only when I'm useful. She didn't respond. Didn't need to. The next day, someone from the board left a letter at his desk. They wanted to recognize him formally. Public commendation. Ray wrote 3 words on the envelope and handed it back. Please don't. Ever. He didn't want applause. He wanted to keep watching the hallway. But Caleb, now shadowing maintenance, printed a small sticker and quietly placed it on Ray's monitor. Still serves. Ray left it there. Some people don't stop protecting. They just stop saluting. If someone you know kept standing post long after the call ended, type never stood down in the comments. 2 weeks after the blackout, Ray didn't show up for his shift. No call. No message. Anna checked the schedule. He wasn't listed. But no one had removed him. It was just blank. Dr. Vargas walked to his desk. Monitor off. Thermos still there. Inside his locker, still unlocked this time, was the notebook. Not the one with circuit sketches and emergency notes. A smaller one. Cloth-bound. Personal. On the first page. For the ones who came after. The pages held lessons. Not about bombs. About pressure points in buildings. How to read fear in a person's eyes. How to breathe during a panic surge. On the last page, one line. If you read this, don't look for me. Keep watching. That night, a letter arrived. Mailed from a small town 6 hours away. No return address. Inside, a photo of an old generator house, restored. And a hand-scrawled note. The next hallway needed watching. Tell Caleb thanks for the sticker. The staff didn't hold a ceremony. But they did something better. They left his chair in place. Didn't assign anyone else to the exact shift. They rotated around it. Every night, someone left a coffee beside the monitor. And behind it, that patch from Task Force Ranger still hung. Unframed. just tacked there. And underneath it, a news sign appeared. Postman. Eyes on. Caleb took over the emergency systems audit. Anna trained new nurses how to feel a room shift before an alarm. Dr. Vargas started every new employee orientation with one sentence. There's always someone watching, even when you don't know who. Respect that. Some people aren't replaced. They're remembered in presence, not in portrait. If someone in your life stepped away quietly but left everything stronger, type postman in the comments. Let's keep the light steady. Winter rolled in. New staff rotated in. Some noticed the empty chair by the monitors. Who sits there? One asked. Anna would just smile. No one now. But we still keep it warm. The desk stayed tidy. The patch stayed pinned. And every few weeks, another folded note appeared under the keyboard. One read, had a near miss tonight. Remembered the breathing trick. It worked. Another. Redirected a panicked patient without shouting. Hope I did it right. No signatures. Just echoes of a man who taught without ever calling himself a teacher. One snowy evening, a courier dropped off a sealed envelope. No return. Inside, a photo. A small rural clinic. Gravel lot. Solar panels on the roof. And standing in the doorway, blurry, distant, unmistakable, was a tall man in a flannel shirt, thermos in hand. On the back. Quiet corners matter. Keep your hallway safe. I've got mine. Caleb framed it. Hung it next to the patch. Below, he wrote in bold marker. EOD. ER. Everywhere. Rosebridge General never officially replaced Ray Ashwood. Because some people don't leave holes. They leave blueprints. And in every quiet footstep of every night shift, someone still checks the pediatric wing before the alarms sound. Just in case. Because someone showed them how. If someone ever changed how you move through the world, how you watch it, type he trained us in the comments. Not all heroes are gone. Some just changed the hallway. If you like this story, please like and subscribe to the channel. Let YouTube promote stories of kindness.